All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Tesla Taliaferro. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the president of the Rainbow Rose Center, which is York County's LGBTQIA+ resource center. Thank you for attending our first educational panel that we've had in some time since the pandemic started, and our first one, especially since our successful Equality Fest event, which were held over the weekend of October 10th. If you didn't get the opportunity to see those events, they were some amazing virtual celebrations that I would encourage you to watch on our YouTube channel, and I'll post a link to that in the chat. Anyway, tonight we have a special guest speaker. Travis McMaster is going to present on how to be authentic and professional. He works as a digital media producer in Gettysburg for Graphcom. And his desire is to help motivate queer people, especially those isolated in rural communities, including throughout York County and Adams County. And this has led him to develop a presentation on the importance of authenticity and networking. But before I let Travis take over the presentation, I just want to present some ground rules for this event. So first off, we are recording this presentation. I will be posting it later on our YouTube channel where we post all of our educational panels. If you do not want to be seen or heard on this recording, feel free to let me know and I will make sure to edit you out before we post that. Also, so you will not need to leave or hide your camera in the meantime. We do recommend that you use headphones to limit the ambient background noise and to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. We will be holding all of the questions until after Travis's presentation, which I'm going to now let him take over.
Cool. Thank you so much, Tesla. All right, everybody, let me get my screen shared. Can't really see the buttons. I have quite the contraption. If you see me on Instagram, you'll see what I'm talking about there. So everybody should be able to see my screen, correct? All right, so before we get into this, I just want to say thank you to everybody that is in attendance tonight, participating in this, coming out, or I guess arriving virtually to hear what I have to say. You could be doing anything on this Monday, and you're choosing it to spend your time with me and the Rainbow Rose Center. But then I also want to thank specifically the Rainbow Rose Center for being an LGBTQ+ resource in York County, in the city of York, and allowing me to kind of do this and be able to speak to people. So, all right. So my name is Travis McMaster. The pronouns I use are he and him, and I come to you with 11 years of experience in marketing and digital media. I am currently a digital media producer at Graphcom. Graphcom is a full-service marketing and production company in Gettysburg. And when it comes to myself, I can be pretty blunt, and I prefer to keep my sugarcoating to my candy instead of my language. But don't worry, we're not going to get obscene with this. Most importantly, though, I, as an individual, as a professional, I love inspiring. I love motivating people to be the best that they can be. And I like to consider myself the gasoline to people's fire. So my hope in doing these types of things, this talk this evening, that I can either be a few ounces or a few gallons of gasoline to your fire and inspire you to be the best you can be the truest person you can be, and go on and do great things. So I am a very proud member of our community, the LGBTQ+ community. And I like to say that out loud in speeches, even if I'm not speaking to a queer audience, because it's important to me, because it's so much of who I am. And also on top of that, when I started this profession in marketing and in media, it was in 2007 when I returned to college to the Art Institute of York. I actually started in April, and with it by May, I was figuring it out and I came out. So when it comes to being authentic, being confident in who I am, and being a professional that gets things done and quite honestly has a successful career, those things run parallel to each other. So again, I'm proud of who I am for that, and so I like to say that in the very beginning. But we're here to talk about authenticity, and we're here to talk about confidently owning and presenting your style. So let's get into a little bit of that. And I'm actually, through the course of this, I'm going to bounce in and out of sharing my screen because I want to see everybody's faces. I love gallery view, and I miss being in the presence of people in this wild world that is 2020. So how do you own your style? You know, quite honestly, you just got to believe in yourself. And that is like, I'm sure you're probably rolling your eyes a little bit thinking like you've heard that before, but truthfully, you have to believe in yourself. Everything you do starts with you. And so if you're struggling to believe in yourself, struggling to have that confidence, get ready to take that switch, flip it, flick it, break it. I mean, put it in the other direction, because owning your style means being confident with you. Oh, side note, the dogs like to hang out in my office, and so any jingling you hear are two beagles, and hopefully they don't start beagle mania, which is like WrestleMania, and this might actually be a thing that happens. So please bear with me with that. Anyway, so back to owning your style. You know, when it comes to style, I encourage people to be inspired by everything, whether it's movie and music or like things you see in ads or whatever. You know, take it all in, because personality. Oh, hold on. Let me mute real quick because it looks like it's gonna go wild. Okay, we're back. I think we might be cool. It's like post dinner time, so they're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so thank you everyone for being patient. But when it comes to style, don't be concerned about labels. I mean, quite honestly, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me or said to me like, "Oh, are you trying to be goth, or are you punk, or are you this, or are you that?" I would have so much money. I would have catered this event and had the food, you know, hand delivered to every one of you that's participating in this, because it's been asked a lot. And I'm just like, I just like a lot of stuff. And again, I'm inspired and influenced by everything and anything. Why would you not want to be, right? So, you know, owning your style, bring your personality to the table, make it fun. Everybody's fun in various ways. Let that be seen, let that be shown, let that be known. By then having that, by being able to own your style and being true to yourself, it's going to allow you to be confident. That's how you build your confidence. It's then going to, sorry, I had to roll my eyes because the dogs went running out. But you know, being confident in yourself, starting with yourself, it's then going to extend into your wardrobe and allow you to basically wear whatever you want, more or less whenever you want, of course, in the confines of your profession. But there's an old phrase that is, you know, you must wear the clothes and not let the clothes wear you. And I love that expression because it's so, so true. You know, when you believe in yourself and you know, you can look in yourself in the mirror and feel cool and feel great about what you're doing, what you're wearing, you're owning those clothes. And in my profession, I'm in marketing, but this conversation, it's outside of my industry because we're all in different industries. You know, when I think of other industries that may have a uniform, I specifically think of nurses because Graphcom works. One of the areas that we work in is in the healthcare industry, but my husband works in healthcare. We have a lot of friends that work in healthcare. But I think of nurses and medical scrubs. If they have no choice, they have to wear a particular type of uniform or an outfit. But you know, they're still going in to do their job, giving the best they can in the clothes that I'm sure they'd prefer to wear something else. But I mean, I've heard scrubs are comfortable, but you know, given the choice, you probably want to be a little more flashy and it's something that makes you feel cool. It also makes me think back when I was younger. I started basically working at 15. I was an employee at McDonald's. So I've had the blue polo, I've had the green polo, I've had the black polo. And then when I went back to McDonald's when I was in college, I was there for the red button shirts. That was a choice. We're going to leave it at that. But, you know, regardless of whatever that McDonald's outfit was, you know, I was there to do the best job that I could and make the best Big Macs that I could and, you know, encourage and inspire the team that I was working with to make sure that we delivered food as fast as we could and as hot as it could possibly be. So kind of moving on with that, you know, when you present your style, how do you present it with confidence? You stand up straight and smile. Again, it's a basic thing. Make sure your clothes are washed, ironed, dry cleaned. Make sure your hair is, you know, brushed and combed and styled nice. If you shave your head, props to you for having one less thing to worry about in the morning. But ultimately, you present your style with confidence by feeling cool because you feel good about it. And again, you feel good about yourself. Specifically about the clothes, let's talk a little bit about that. You should know your sizes. Clothes should fit well on you. And I would encourage everybody to buy quality over quantity. I've given this type of talk and lecture to a variety of people, from adults in their career, like in the middle of their careers, to high school students getting ready to enter the real world, or college, or just college students getting ready to enter the real world. So I get that, like, money can be a thing. When I say buy quality over quantity, I'm not saying you need to go out and drop $5,000 on a Givenchy suit. What I'm saying is, find something that is maybe a little bit higher price, read up reviews, and find something that's going to last a while. The best example I can give you is shoes. When my husband and I, on a family trip on a cruise, I went on that trip. I had 3 pairs of shoes. They all got destroyed because they were like $30 or $40 shoes from Kohl's, right? I was like, this is done. So yes, I went to Johnston & Murphy, and I think shoes there probably start at like $200. The point is, those Johnston & Murphys, I've had those now for 5 years. So spending a little bit and investing yourself and investing in those pieces that are going to last a while are the better investment than constantly having to buy new clothes, because then when things start to tear, you're not going to feel your best, and it's just another stress. Then we don't need more stresses. There's enough going on, right? So also when it comes to presenting yourself with confidence, like I said, with your hair, you got to be able to maintain it and look good. It's just a non-issue. As you can probably see, like, I have tattoos, I have piercings, my face has metal in it. This is the first time I have the most natural hair color, and I don't have a mohawk. Love a mohawk. But in some of those pictures you probably saw, I've had a variety of haircuts. And yes, I work in a creative industry, so it allows me some of that flexibility. But I can tell you, other people that I've worked with through the course of my career have said, it's never been an issue because you just don't make it an issue. And I'm like, right, because it's just a look. I'm here to do a job. So, I know having a mohawk and possibly having purple hair makes me feel like $1,000,000. So why would I not do that, knowing I then need to go out and do the best work as possible? We're going to get into company research a little bit here later in the presentation, because of course I'm saying all these things under the guise of I work in a creative industry, and not everything is the same. But this is a segue then to the next subject that I want to share with everybody. And I have a little slide, so let me share my screen. So let's talk about bending your interest into your style to fit your company's needs. Okay. A little bit of background. When I was graduating from the Art Institute, both times, specifically more the first time, the group that I was with, a lot of those kids, I shouldn't say kids, that's not fair. A lot of the people that I was with, they were fresh out of high school, did college, and were getting ready to go into the real world. And at that time, their mind was bending in terms of having to go into a profession, and what does that mean, and how are you going to dress, and does it change you, and whatever. And they were just so concerned about all these, I guess, superficial looking things, and I couldn't relate to any of that. And I say that I couldn't relate to that, not because I was older or better than them, because again, that first time I was only maybe 1 or 2 years older than them. I couldn't relate to them because I'll be damned if I'm going to let a dress code prevent me from being the best that I can be and also having a successful career. We all know college is super expensive, so why would you not do whatever it takes to make sure you can be successful and not have to worry about things? So when it comes to your style, and whether you're in a career and you're trying to reinvent yourself, or whether you are a college student or a high school student entering things, when you have to dress a certain way for a job, don't look at it as losing yourself or changing yourself. You're still basically the same person. You can still have the same interests. You have to look at it as an opportunity to be creative for yourself and actually elevate. I don't like to use the word change because I like to look at it as elevation. Change seems like it's a completely new thing, and it mutates and it morphs and it goes over there. Elevating takes everything that you've loved and just makes it better, polishes it a little bit more. And when you elevate your style, from where you were to that next level, it helps that being creative to elevate your style. It allows that potential, awkwardness of being uncomfortable until you kind of get into things, be a little bit less, awkward and uncomfortable. So a few years ago, I had worked for Joseph A. Bank. For those of you who are not familiar with, Joseph A. Bank is not a bank. You don't invest money there. Checkbooks and all that jazz. Sorry, let me get a quick drink. Joseph A. Bank is a men's clothing company. And the clothing company they produce is that stereotypical kind of like more business, more formal looking wear, slacks, dress shirts, suits. Their primary demographic are like lawyers and real estate agents and bankers. So when you work for the company, whether you're in the corporate office, which is where I was, or you're out in the different stores, you have to dress the brand. By that time, I'm wearing like punk rock t-shirts. I've got pants that probably have holes in them. I love a zipper hoodie, whatever. But like I said, I'll be damned if a dress code is going to keep me from being the best that I can be. So I took that as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm not a big navy suit person. I really don't like brown shoes. That has since changed. But at that time, I looked at my aesthetic, which was a lot of black, again, rock and roll, Motley Crue, Skulls, all that stuff that you can think of. Like that was my bag. So I went out and I got nice black pants. I got nice black button shirts. I then went out and got black sweaters, and like, whether there was a little zip up or whatever that I could then wear versus a hoodie. So again, elevating it. It still fits within that aesthetic and that personal look that I had in my head, but it wasn't conforming to this navy suit and changing who I am. No, very much like not at all. Elevated. When it comes to elevating your personal style, I encourage the use of accessories. You're kind of seeing some of them right now. In the case of Joseph A. Bank, I didn't have the rings at the time, but I had to wear a tie. I could have wore a very boring solid color tie, and I'm sure I did on occasion, but there are so many, especially now, there's so many stores online like Etsy and Poshmark and all these different vendors where they're creating new things and creating unique pieces. So like go find a tie that might have more of a graphic design to it that might be like, whether it's a skull or a flower or something, whatever you're interested in, there's more than likely a tie for you if that's the type of look that you need to pursue. The point I'm trying to make is that was an area where I could show some of my personality outside, like from a visual standpoint, and not feel like I got pulled over here and like lost myself. Also, when it comes to accessories, I have a story that it actually just in the past week came up. So at Graphcom, one of the videos I had worked on for one of our clients, it's a hospital. It was an interview with a nurse that worked in like the cancer institute or the cancer division of the hospital. And she's got her solid color scrubs on. She has her badge, it says RN, but she has a button, and she specifically calls out this button that says cancer ninja. And she goes on to talk about how, that thing, it helps inspire her. She's the type of person that likes to want to help people give back, and be strong for the people she's working with. Cancer is such a battle, and the person that is experiencing, and of course everybody around that person. So it was really inspiring for me to hear her say, I have this pin, and like through that pin I channel energy that just says, we've got this, we're going to fight for you, we're going to help you, again, the cancer patient, fight to get through it. And she wouldn't have to do that, she wouldn't need that pin, but like having that thing that allows some of her personality to come out. And honestly, I don't know this woman, but I bet she's one of the best nurses at this hospital, because it's going to allow her to be more personable, allow that connection. So again, utilize even the smallest things when you can with accessories, shoes, belts. There's so many opportunities to still pull in your personality, pull in your interest. You just got to get creative with it. In regards to bending your interest in your style, I do want to quickly talk about skills as a style. So we've all probably heard that there's different managerial skills, there's different leadership skills, all that. One of the things I encourage, and I do myself, honestly, is, I want to give as much as I can. So what I mean by that is, I'd already said I like to help, I like to inspire people, right, at my job. So a skill that, and part of my personality or part of my interest is helping people. So instead of just going to my job and doing my job and making websites at the time or making videos, whatever I'm doing, someone had a coworker of mine, she wanted to switch from design into development. So there was an opportunity for me, like on the side, after hours, and even at work on occasion, to help her learn the tricks of the trade and learn the things. So that's a skill that I wasn't necessarily hired for. I wasn't asked to be a mentor to somebody, but there's no company in the world that's not going to want its employees to be the best and encourage the best out of their coworkers. So I encourage you to think about, like, what else do you love to do that you can maybe apply as a skill at your job? Another example I want to give, so like at Graphcom, there are some people that they're really good at like planning and organizing parties and get-togethers. So prior to 2020 and all the wackiness that this has been, we had a group of people at the company who they would rally together and they would make sure that we had happy hours whenever we had a new employee. So it was like a new employee orientation happy hour, which was super rad because we're so busy through the workday to be able to spend a few hours to get to know them, they get to know us. That's super cool. But it allows them to give back more than just like running numbers for data or designing a magazine. So, and that's an extension of their interest and their personality. So we've talked about some skills a little bit, but now we're going to really get into it because you can look good, right? You can look great and you feel confident, but you've got to come prepared and be ready to deliver. And I say that, pardon me, I kind of like chuckle a little bit because I'm sure you're all sitting there thinking like, wait, is he really going to actually say this? Like, isn't that an obvious thing? Pardon me. But yes, I'm really going to say this because it needs to be said. When you go to a job and your employer, you better be ready. No matter what you put on that resume and whatever you say in the interview, you better be ready to deliver and be the best that you can be. When the first job that I landed after getting out of school the first time, it was for an ad agency in Simonium. I remember being on the phone with the boss. I was actually on break from McDonald's, and the guy, he was the boss. He was like, we have some web pages. Can you like do these basic things like linking and all that jazz? And I was like, yeah, yep. Oh, I totally can. I'm sure I sounded terrible on the phone. It was a phone conversation, but and in class, the way it worked at their institute, I had one really good web class, but I wanted a career. I was going to do whatever it took. I'll be damned if it's not going to happen. So yes, I said I can do it. So that when I got the job, I brushed up on those skills. And of course, when you're green and something new at something, it's not going to be muscle memory, but you stick with it and you prepare yourself. You get yourself to a point where you just deliver, and it's a moot point. You just deliver well. And so when it comes to your skills and being able to deliver what you need, I encourage you to look beyond your primary skills. Think more of your secondary skills. It's not enough to just like do one thing and then do it well. You got to continue to advance. Trends change in everything, no matter what you do, whether you're in design or you're in advertising or you're in caregiving, whatever. Like there's always something new to learn. But grow those secondary skills and grow anything else that you can to improve yourself. One of the things that I really like to do in these conversations is inspire and encourage everybody to, work on your leadership skills. Be a leader. Don't have the mindset that if you're not a manager, you're not a leader. Because that's BS. Everybody can be a leader. You don't need a team of people to be a leader. So when you're passionate about something and you can do it well, people are going to watch, people are going to notice, people are going to listen. So, be a leader, and then also grow those additional skills, because while you may go into a job doing one thing, take your arms, like grow multiple arms, extend those things and do more for the company, add value to yourself. Any good company is going to see someone that is trying to excel, whether it's go up a company ladder, grow themselves to be the best that they can be, and they're going to encourage that. And I would, again, any good company is going to be a gasoline to that particular fire. So let's talk about some company research stuff, because company research is so important, and really should not be slept on, because quite honestly, no matter how much you're feeling yourself, no matter how good how cool you're feeling, your hair is great, your outfit's stunning, all those things, you can kick ass and knock stuff out like it's going out of tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you're working for a company that basically is just not in line with who you are as a person or your values. You're just going to put yourself through hell. You're asking for additional stress, and you're going to waste energy. I want to share a story in terms of like when I kind of didn't follow that advice, and I didn't properly research a company I'd worked for. So, I at one point earlier in my career was working for a startup company. There wasn't a lot to research, but again, that's no excuse. We'll get into some of those points. But one day, let me set the stage for you a little bit more. So like at this point, I'd already been with the company for a number of months, solidified myself, showing that I can get things done, work hard, all this stuff. Again, I'll be damned if I'm not going to have a successful career. So out of nowhere, we're working one day. The boss literally says behind my back, and because where I was sitting, he was behind me talking to a coworker. He says, "I don't think Travis is really gay, and I think he says it just so he can be closer to you and the ladies." Who he was speaking to was a female coworker, one who I was incredibly close with. We had diva time, which meant we would like walk around the block. But I heard it and I was stunned. In that moment, I could have slammed my laptop, told him to piss off and walk out. I didn't. And it's beyond the point. I bring it up though as a reminder to everybody that's listening, so they can hear that story, and say to be devalued as an employee, as a person, F that. Everybody deserves to be respected as a person. Everybody deserves to be treated well. So, make sure you do the research to make sure you're putting yourself in a company that, is going to appreciate you. And in 2020, especially over the last 5 years, there's really no excuse not to look up a company, understand their understand their culture. Company culture is a huge thing. See what they've got going on, what are they involved in, what are they doing. Again, you want to work for a company that's going to value you and also encourage you to be better than you were the day before and the year before. Also, when you do your research, when you go through the website, find faces, find names, look them up. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, you got a platform that you use, see if they exist on there and see what they're about. I'm assuming everyone in this call is within the York, Adams County area, and Patrick's in Baltimore, but still a lot of us are here in this rural area. It's not a big city. It's not Philadelphia. It's not New York. But it's so important to do company research, because had I not, I wouldn't have found a place in my own backyard, being Adams County, in Graphcom. The company itself is it's a great company that I can't help but tout in terms of like how much they appreciate and value their employees, the skills that people bring, how they help their employees grow. And there was a situation one time where I had got my septum pierced. This is relatively new in the course of my career. So I was like, oh, this is a great piercing to have. I can just tuck it, no big deal, not an issue. I'll go into a meeting, and it's fine. So we had a big client meeting with one of our big clients. I tuck my ring, we go in, we have the meeting, everything's great. We were literally walking out the door. I'm like 2 steps into it, and I untuck my septum. And my boss says to me, "Don't ever do that again." And I'm sure I'm being a little bit more dramatic here in the story than like at the situation, but regardless, I remember being caught off guard, like I was kind of stunned, like, what? And he's like, "I don't ever want you to tuck your septum again. quite honestly, if there's a client that has an issue with you having a facial piercing, and can't see that it's about the work that we're going to do for them, they're probably not the right fit for us. So again, like you gotta research your company, see the people there, like that means so much. That same person that I'm talking about, they went on to be the best man at my wedding. Truly an inspiring person, and it's crazy to think that prior to meeting him, I was thinking like, my husband and I, we're gonna have to get out of here. Like, what is left in this small town? There's people here. Do the research, look for people, find them. So I'm gonna hit you with one more point here. We're gonna talk about. Okay, so staying authentic as a professional, that's the big question, right? Like, how do you stay authentic as a professional? Well, we've talked a lot tonight about ways you can do that, but I'd like to say to you, whether you're an enthusiastic extrovert or a reserved introvert, you got to continuously bring your true authentic self to the party and let the best parts of your personality shine. Always believe in yourself and always be proud of who you are and the things that you love. Talk about those things, have pride in those things, share those with whatever it is with people. Know that not everything is for everybody, but that's okay. At work, we have a Teams channel, and every other week I'm like, oh my God, somebody just dropped this amazing album. It's incredible, whatever. And I know that there are a handful of people that will probably check it out, and the majority of the people probably won't. But that's fine. That excitement that I have for that passion, that energy, other people latch onto that, and it's contagious. So the more you can radiate that energy, you're going to spark it in other people. And there's no other option, quite honestly, when it comes to being authentic, because all right, so I'm going to end you with this quote from Oscar Wilde: "Be yourself, because everyone else is taken." I mean, that says it all right there. So with that, I just want to thank you all. Cheers to all of you for coming to listen to this, to have a new perspective, to hear what I have to say. So let's I guess get into any Q&As or any questions or advice or whatever you got. I love this type of environment when we can talk to people. So who's got questions? What do you got? And I will possibly call people out if we don't see some hands go up or any participation. Anybody?
Travis, I have a question for you about specifically doing research for a good culture fit. I work in the Lancaster area for a company, and it's a pretty large e-commerce company. And just recently, we've been having discussions about including pronouns in email signatures as a way to be more inclusive for folks who are gender non-binary, or just to show that we take that issue seriously. I'm curious if you have any suggestions on how to research whether a company is affirming, and some ways to go about doing that. Yeah,
so in terms of like being able to research from that regards, when if you've already had conversations, like possibly with an HR person, look in their signature, see if it's there. I think that is an amazing question. and I'm saying that because like a point that I would take is if you're researching and you're not finding that answer, that is a question I would take to an interview, and I would ask that question. Because when you go to an interview, you should be ready to ask questions and ask about the company. So, if you're struggling to find that answer through research, ask it. But while researching, I would say you kind of have to leverage some of the people you know. If you do know somebody at a company that you're looking at, ask them specifically. Try to get some research. It's almost like a little insider knowledge from there, because they'll have some perspective for you. The pronoun thing is interesting. I will say at Graphcom, we don't do it as a whole. I recently started doing it. Actually, it was in conversation with Tesla that, it like kind of lit a fire under me. It was like, wait, we have a few clients that do this. Like, why are we not doing that? This is a thing. So, yeah, I mean, sorry, I like to go long-winded and talk a lot. So I would say if you're researching, if you're not finding in that example like the answer to, like, are they trying to be more inclusive and including pronouns and signatures? If you've already had conversations, you're not seeing it in an email signature, bring it to an interview. Again, when you're anybody who's interviewing you should be ready for questions and should expect you to have questions. And I say that because, like, if you don't have questions, like, do you really care? So always go in ready to ask questions. Hopefully that helps some. So.
Travis,
Hey,
may I
Jeremy,
also add to that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Another way to look into it, Alex, is also look at their mission statement. That's usually public knowledge on their website or somewhere. And often companies are publishing their non-discrimination policies, and that will often include language towards that.
Anybody else? Come on, this is fun. Let's start.
Hey, Travis, it's Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
I tell you, one of the things I like to do, even in like business meetings, when I go into a meeting with somebody, either a potential vendor or a new relationship we're fostering, is I just Google them and I fall down rabbit holes, but I find things. We brought somebody on in our company in a much larger capacity, in a nationwide type of capacity, and I mean, I found everything out, down to the severance package, to educations, organizations, political leanings, so that when I met with this individual, because this individual became sort of like my new boss back in June, I knew everything I needed to know. And I felt very well equipped. Now, it didn't matter, but the truth is, I sat there with that knowledge, and it kind of gave me a better perspective of the origin of everything, what he was coming from, and the company that he worked for, and what their corporate culture was. So I felt armed with that. It was sort of like a secret weapon. And it also allows you to kind of not judge, but, you figure out the file card on people, who you're dealing with, who they know, what are their buttons and things. So like you said, I cannot overestimate and tell you how important it is to do that research and really dig. I mean, there's so many wonderful social media platforms and Google and news articles. I mean, you can find so many things, and it's so incredibly helpful.
Yep. Patrick, thank you for that. If I could kind of continue off the research topic that we're talking about, someone here that is in attendance, I look at them as an example of the importance of research. So personally, for myself, I didn't really move far from home, right? A friend of mine, she's from Miami, right? And she straight up came to Pennsylvania. So there was so much research that had to go in for her to say, like, she ready to up and leave everything in Miami and then to come here, and through that, what was great at the time with Graphcom is that we've done this with a few people. When they come in, we kind of do like a meet and greet session. People get to meet everybody. But then, yeah, like Patrick said, like we all looked her up on social media, and then like we went down the rabbit holes, and like it just really kind of helped the energy in terms of figuring out, like, oh, like this person looks like a lot of fun based off like the things that they're saying in social, the pictures that they're sharing, the memes that they're sharing. So love a corporate stalking rabbit hole.
I'll chime in since I'm that person you're talking about.
Christina, you're the best.
I feel like from both ends of it, it's just like being the person, who's putting themselves out there for a job and everything. You think about your own profiles too, of like, this is the image that people are going to get about me. And I remember at that time I had a picture like in a cheeseburger costume and with all kinds of things, colorful hair, and it was like, I'm not going to take any of this down. This is who I am, and you have to be authentic about it. And I agree that there's like some degree of professionalism to have in your social channels, but yeah, I feel like it helps you maintain your authenticity too when you're thinking that people are going to be doing research about me and seeing me and making guesses about who I am and how I am. So I think it helps from that end too.
Christina, thank you so much for speaking up. That's awesome.
Of course.
So any other questions in terms of like, I mean, we can even talk about getting into clothes if you want. Love talking about fashion. You know, I want to make sure that you guys are getting something out of this. So please, let's look at the
Travis,
list. Yeah, Patrick, please.
I'm a funeral director, and so you know, we are kind of limited. You know, we wear dark suits, white shirts, but I'll tell you what, I have a great time with my ties and my socks and my pocket squares, and I make sure that when I have to buy eyewear, it's an accessory, it's not a necessity. So, you know, even it's the small things, or my French cufflinks, you know, yeah, I can still be in a suit, but I can also really kick it up a notch and brand that as my style, you know. And when I sat down in the lobby with my staff and we were waiting for a service to end, and I crossed my legs and I had these incredibly awesome socks that you wouldn't see unless I was seated, they were like, oh, I mean, it became a topic of conversation, and they always remember that. And it was a way for me to be me, my authentic self, while working in the confines of my profession. So, I mean, even the smallest things can really give you identity and your own sense of self and security, sometimes in a community where you feel like you're just, you know, one of many.
Yep. Accessories are a great icebreaker in terms of like seeing something or whatever, and then trying to spark up a conversation. So, and apply that thought process also like when going in for interviews. You know, if somebody, I mean, if you guys can see my hands right now, I've got more rings than what I need. You know, if someone be like, oh, like, what's that about? Like, well, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's unpack it and get to know me a little bit more. And then I could start a conversation with them based like, what do you got, et cetera. So, all right, so I'm seeing some names on the list because I've got all the participants up. You know, Alex and Patrick and Christina were kind enough to talk. I'm curious if Tiffany or AJ has anything to ask, say, thoughts.
This is Tiffany. I work in social work. I work in a social work environment.
Cool.
I am blissfully able to kind of put myself out there in what I wear to work. We don't have a lot of really tight constraints as to what we wear to work. The only thing that really, they really snap down on us is if we have to go into the courtroom, if we have any court hearings. But even then, I mean, you can still absolutely definitely with the eyewear, definitely with little pieces that people don't notice, accessories, those kind of things, you can absolutely put yourself out there without completely putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, friends, it's 7:15. If there are no other questions, we can wrap it up for the night. Going once, going twice.
Thank you, Travis, for doing this. I've been in my career for 27 years, and I still had takeaways from this, and I went into it and I was like really excited. And there's things that I'm taking away from this that I'm going to make my own, and also pass it on and make it better for the next people that I work with. So thank you very much for your time and talent.
It's awesome to hear. Thanks, Patrick. And again, everybody, thank you so much for coming out on a Monday night and coming to hear this conversation, participating and being a part of it. And the Rainbow Rose Center, thank you for having me again. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Travis. And for anyone who's interested, we do have another educational panel coming up in November. I believe it's on the 4th or possibly the 10th, which is going to be on creating accessibility within LGBTQ plus spaces, including for people with disabilities such as deafness, wheelchair bound, and other items. So we're looking forward to that conversation with another guest speaker.
Awesome.
Does
Cool.
anyone have any other questions for either Travis or for myself with the Rainbow Rose Center? Okay.
Sounds like there's not. So I like to end a lot of my videos with a big old cheers. So I'm going to do it here. I got my coffee. So cheers, everybody. Thank you. Thank you again.
All right. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.